Good morning. Thank you and welcome to this morning's general session. It is my pleasure to introduce our first speaker for this morning, Commissioner Craig Buttars. Commissioner Buttars has been serving as the Commissioner of the Utah Department of Agriculture and Food since being appointed by Utah Governor Spencer Cox in January 2021. Prior to this appointment, he served in various roles with the Utah Farm Bureau Board, Utah House District Number 3, and the Cache County Council. He spent the majority of his career as a dairy farmer until 2015, when he left for full-time government service. We are grateful for the Commissioner's time with us this morning and the Utah Department of Agriculture and Food's conservation programs and partnership with the state's 38 conservation districts. Please join me in welcoming Commissioner Buttars to the stage.
Thank you very much. Welcome, NACD members. It's great to have you here in the state of Utah. We hope that you've enjoyed your time here, and I look at my remarks today as a welcome and a send-off, and so we hope that you've enjoyed your time while you've been here. Here in Utah, we have a great agricultural industry, and you know, we have some of the greatest snow on earth. I hope that maybe a few of you have had the opportunity to get out on some of our ski hills, ski resorts. If not, maybe you could put off that flight going home and spend some time up in our mountains. You know, normally we'll have snow here in the valleys, but this year has been really an open year, and we haven't had much snow in the valleys. We've had a little bit of rain and some precipitation, but this time of the year, I think all the Utah residents are done with snow in the valleys. We want to see it snow up in the mountains, and then we'll go up there and have fun in it. So here we have, in Utah, we have some beautiful scenery, and we like to call it be-Utah-ful scenery. So hopefully maybe you can get that, the be-Utah-ful. Of course, we have our mighty 5 national parks, which draw visitors from all over the world to come to our national parks, and we hope that you've been able to take advantage of some of those sites also and see some of those sites. We have the Utah Jazz, and this year, of course, we have the Utah Hockey Club, or NHL, our new NHL team. This is their inaugural season, and it's been an exciting season, and something exciting that is taking place here in Salt Lake City. Any of you tried fry sauce while you've been here? Anybody? Fry sauce is a kind of a Utah thing. It was started here in Utah, and if you don't, or if you haven't had that, then you know, ask for it next time you go to a restaurant with your fries. As you can see here in, let's see. Okay. We're going to start off here with a video, and we'll hope that we can get this to play. Here we go.
No two sunrises are alike. While the city slumbers, we rise, daring the rays to meet the earth. They cascade across our pastures, ignite our golden fields, and burst atop our gleaming silos. We know this land like our own front porch, where we raised our crops and our families, built by the grit of our labors, nurtured through generations of resilience, and preserved through the warmth of our community. We know that what we do isn't easy, but that's what makes it worth doing.
As you can see, agriculture in Utah brings a lot to the table. We have 33,000 farm families. That's about 1% of Utah's population. We provide significant economic impact with, if you add the economic multiplier, upwards of $30 billion in agricultural products in the state of Utah. We have over 10 million acres of agricultural land and almost 1 million acres of irrigated agriculture. So that's why as Utahns we feel that it is so important to do everything that we can to preserve agriculture, protect our farm families and their way of life, and be wise stewards of the land that we have. I'm going to highlight for you just a few of the ways that we at the Utah Department of Agriculture and Food are working to conserve and protect agriculture lands and resources. First is our Ag Water Optimization Program. This has been one of our biggest focuses because of the fact that Utah, of course, is a desert state. Water is very scarce, and we need to put every drop to its beneficial use. So since 2019, this water optimization program has received $276 million of funding from the state legislature. Let's see, excuse me, pushed the wrong button. This program is a 50-50 match for our agriculture producers. And they have a cost share, so for every dollar of grant money that they receive, they are responsible to find another dollar somewhere else, either out of their own pocket or through other partners that we have. And so the irrigation companies can apply for this funding, also farmers can apply for this, and ranchers can apply for this funding. It's been a very successful program, and we've completed hundreds of projects so far, and we're currently in another round of funding for this program. So these projects can look different. These water optimization projects can look different depending on the soil, the type of soil, the different farming operations. They can be subsurface drip irrigation, pivots, mechanical head gates, piping systems, and other things. Whatever best suits the needs of the land and the user and provides the most water savings. So as you can see from the numbers that we have there, the program has been a huge success to Utah's farmers and ranchers, and they're eager to do their part in conserving water. And of course, as you may have heard while you're here, and you may hear this afternoon, the Great Salt Lake is one of the main focuses on water conservation. And a lot of the efforts that we have put forward in water optimization have been to get water to the Great Salt Lake. So our farmers and ranchers are active and interested in helping to be a solution there. Okay, let's see. So in addition, as one of the fastest growing states in the nation, you can imagine that farmland is being developed at kind of an alarming rate. Here in Utah, most of our prime agricultural land is located along what we call the Wasatch Front, which is Salt Lake City, Ogden, Provo. The pioneers that settled this land, they diverted the streams onto the farm ground and created irrigation systems that I think could be the envy of almost anywhere in the world. But now, since the water's there, we've seen growth in other industries, and so now these prime agricultural lands are the ones that are being developed. We're putting homes on all these land, and the homes are going to be the last crop that you'll actually see on these prime agricultural lands. So, a lot of times those dollar figures, for a farmer that's been farming for years and is relying on that property for their retirement, a lot of times it's difficult for them to turn down an offer of big money for these agricultural land, no matter how dedicated they are to agriculture. So it's important for us to preserve those agricultural lands, and one of the things that we do is we have the program called the Leroy McAllister Working Farm and Ranch Fund, and this the picture that you see is one of the ranches. with the project on there, and one of the ranches that we were able to purchase development rights on so that this land can stay in production for perpetuity. So the program, like I say, purchases development rights from the landowner, and it allows them to monetize the value of that land, and that ensures that these lands can stay in agricultural production for perpetuity. Finally, we know that none of these conservation initiatives or issues can take place unless the soil is healthy, unless we're keeping the soil healthy. So the next program that we have is the Soil Health Program. The purpose of the Soil Health Program is to promote the adoption of beneficial management practices that increase our understanding of soil health and its impact on productivity, economics, even water conservation, and the environmental aspects of agriculture. Healthy soils provide a direct benefit to the general public in Utah also. The program uses a voluntary incentive-based approach through research, through demonstration projects, through education to assist farmers in implementing the practices that promote soil health. Working with multiple partners, agencies, and stakeholders, we combine efforts and acquire funding from various sources to implement these projects. And we appreciate the partners that we have with the Soil Health Partnership. Last of all, I just say I hope that you've enjoyed your time here in Utah. We are excited about the conservation efforts that are being made here in the state of Utah. We, as I can say, with the Water Optimization Program, with the Leary McAllister Program, with the Soil Health Program, these are all conservation efforts that we have focused on to a great extent here in the state of Utah. And we want to be able to see agriculture thrive into the future, into the next generation. So thank you once again for allowing me to be here with you, and we hope you have a safe trip home, wherever that may be, and that you have enjoyed your stay here in Utah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Buttars, for sharing with us more about agriculture, conservation, and partnerships in Utah. Please join me in thanking Commissioner Buttars for his time with us here this morning. For our next speaker, I'd like to welcome to the stage the director of the Great Salt Lake Sentinel Landscape, Marissa Weinberg, to share with us a few words about this newly designated Sentinel Landscape, one of 17 across the country where conservation, working lands, and national defense interests converge.
Good morning, NACD. It's an honor to present the Great Salt Lake Sentinel Landscape. Looking for that button, there we go. So this new Sentinel Landscape was designated this past March 2024. It encompasses 2.77 million acres across 9 counties here in Utah. It also is anchored by 4 key military installations: Hill Air Force Base, Camp Williams, Tooele Army Depot, and the U.S. Air Force Little Mountain Test Facility. The Great Salt Lake Sentinel Landscape is built on a strong foundation of partnership. We've brought together a consortium of over 40 partners from federal and state agencies, as well as local and private partners here in Utah, such as the UACD. Our mission is to unite these diverse partners, optimize our resources, and align our efforts. This collaborative approach is essential to ensuring the resilience of Utah's military installations, as well as our vital agricultural lands and critical ecosystems. While the Sentinel Landscape designation doesn't guarantee direct funding, it does provide priority access to resources from REPI and NRCS programs. The Great Salt Lake Sentinel Landscape also leverages substantial contributions from our extensive partner network. By combining the funding efforts of all Great Salt Lake Sentinel landscape partners, we can successfully complete critical conservation projects that address our shared goals. Conserving Utah's precious and limited resources requires a team effort. We're incredibly excited to convene this new Great Salt Lake Sentinel landscape team and build upon the important conservation work already underway here in Utah. So thank you very much. It's, again, an honor to be here.
Thank you, Marissa, for your leadership of this new Sentinel landscape and for being here with us this week to learn more about the work of conservation districts. Please give Marissa another round of applause. Now I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Carrie Vollmer-Sanders, the new president of Field to Market, the Alliance for Sustainable Agriculture. Field to Market unites the supply chain to deliver sustainable outcomes for agriculture through collaboration and translating science into action. Carrie joined Field to Market in August 2024. She is a sixth-generation farmer, and together, she and her family own Grains and Greens Incorporated, a corn, soybeans, and wheat farm focused on biodiversity and soil health in the Northeast Indiana and Northwest Ohio. Carrie serves on the Eden Farmers Co-op Board and previously served the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency's Science Advisory Board. She has worked for U.S. Farmers and Ranchers in Action, the Nature Conservancy, and Michigan Farm Bureau. In 2014, Carrie received the White House Champion of Change Award for her leadership in developing the 4R Nutrient Stewardship Certification Program while at the Nature Conservancy. Please join me in welcoming to the stage Carrie Vollmer-Sanders.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. It's so good to see you. It's so good to be here at the National Association of Conservation Districts. I've not been to an annual meeting before, so I really appreciate the invitation. I work with the association all the time, but have never made it out to a meeting. As we were talking earlier, sometimes this is called meeting season for a reason. So much going on. But I'm the president of Field to Market, and if you don't know what Field to Market is, we really are an organization where we're trying to unite the entire ag value chain to help build resilient agriculture systems. And as Kim pointed out, I also am a farmer. And I never thought I would be a farmer. You know, like, you grow up on a farm, and there's all these things to do, and you never get to take a vacation. And as a kid, like, all you really want to do is go swim in a swimming pool someplace or travel someplace. But I was when I was a freshman in high school, I live in a small town, as most farmers do. It's a very rural community. I went to take a shop class so that I could learn how to do drawings, because I like to build things. And I got to, the freshman orientation just before you start your ninth grade year. I signed up for shop class, and they came back to me after they saw my paper, and they're like, actually, girls aren't allowed to take shop class. And I was like, oh, well, what am I gonna do? Well, there's this other class that does some things similar to shop class. You can take BOAG. And I was like, vocational agriculture? I live on a farm, like, what am I gonna learn? Well, I did learn how to draw drawings, to build things. I also learned how to use a plasma cutter, which was really awesome. Weld, my dad never showed me that. We learned how to do, all sorts of things with machinery. And I learned parliamentary procedures and how to work on teams. And it was actually a much better class for me in the long run, but I didn't know that at the time. And that story came to me about resiliency, thinking about Plan B. There was an obstacle, and I wasn't gonna just not learn how to make these drawings. I try to figure out another way. There's always another way, right? It might not be what we initially had planned. And how many of you have had or have right now a teenager, a boy teenager? Okay, I've got 2 of them. This picture's from a couple years ago. My youngest son, who's now 17, he comes to me just this last week and he says, "Mom, I really would like to read a book." Oh, are you kidding me? From the boy that just told me I'm never gonna read after I get out of high school. Okay, so I was like, oh, very calmly, "What book is it that you would like to read?" Thinking that it might be, like How to Grow Facial Hair or, some random thing. He's like, "I want to read the book, The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday." And I was like, oh, that's a very adult book for a 17-year-old. Like, what makes you interested in this book? And he said, "Well, I want to get good at thinking smartly." I was like, okay. So he's a swimmer, and he wants to do good swimming. And swimming, if you don't know anything about swimming, it's a lot of mental strength. He also is really interested in grain marketing, so he wants to be able to figure out charts, and he doesn't want to be persuaded by whatever's in the news. So he wants to get this book, The Obstacle is the Way. And so when he said that, I was like, well, maybe your mom should also read this. So I don't consume a lot of books hard copy. I listen to them by audio, and I listened to this book this last week. On the flight over here, it was something like 7 hours of airplane time, so I finished the book before I got here. And then we heard from Eric at the beginning of this whole session, we're gonna have obstacles. Things are gonna come up that we're not ready for. Maybe it's that flight home that is gonna be a little of change in plans because of snow. Maybe this summer, the farmers that you work with in your conservation districts are gonna face some adversities, whether it's from low commodity prices, high input prices, tariffs, or counter tariffs, or I was talking to someone that, a meteorologist, he was like, there's a drought in Mexico right now, and I said, great. But I live in Indiana. Well, that drought looks like, over the course of the summer, it's going to continue on up through the plains and probably get to Indiana in about August. Oh, super. So not only do we have low commodity prices, high input prices, but now we have a drought coming? Well, he's like, oh, I can't read the crystal balls, but there's going to be adversity. This year, probably more than others. We've already seen some adversity, some obstacles, right? Maybe funding has shifted slightly for your conservation district. So we have to think differently. We can't just lay down and let the world happen. We have to act. We have to think creatively. And yes, we need to breathe, pause, feel the feelings, understand that it's not great, it's not what we planned, and then act. And you as conservation districts are in one of the best places to do that because of your firsthand knowledge of agriculture. Conservation is going to be one of the most important things we do in the next couple of years to help farmers be more resilient. So when you think about the work that we do at Field to Market, we bring a whole bunch of organizations together. We unite organizations like the Nature Conservancy with conservation districts, with Mondelez, with USDA and NRCS. We're bringing all of these organizations together to really create a robust support system to enhance farmer livelihoods and build resilient ecosystems. And we have 2 board members that are here. I think they're still here. Jen Nellinger from NACD and Scott Edwards from Missouri NRCS. And I just want to say thank you for their leadership to help make Field to Market so strong. And when we say unite the value chain, this is what I'm talking about. It's about 200 organizations that we've brought together. And we do a couple of different things together, right? So we have a couple events a year. We have a meeting in June, a meeting in November, something called the Sustainable Ag Summit. If you haven't heard of it, it's probably the largest sustainability meeting in the United States, focused on agriculture. And that it's a great place to go to network, to learn, and to grow. And what else do we do? We have something called the Fieldprint Platform. There was a group that spoke earlier about this in a session that just ended before this. And those members have come together for a couple of things. So they come together and talk, network, see how they can help each other build and grow. They've also agreed on the definitions for sustainability and how to measure it. These are 8 different metrics that those organizations agreed to figure out how sustainable is a field, a farm. And these are the metrics that this is the input, this is the information you get back as a farmer once you input your data. So it's more like golf than football. So you want a small score, not a large score. So think about soil conservation. This particular farm probably could use some help from maybe some cover crops or some no-till to get that score a little bit smaller. This information is really helpful in making decisions on a farm. It also is helpful when you go to your conservation district or NRCS or any other watershed group. I'd like to apply for some funding, and I think these are some areas where I might be able to do a little bit better job. Can you help me out? And when we think about when farmers want to change or they see the need to change because of what's happening with their water quality or what's happening with erosion in their fields, about 62% of the farmers that we surveyed believe that implementing these practices improves long-term profitability. 74% believe that they should receive monetary incentives if they're providing a public good. But only 15% of the farmers have received better market access or additional revenue because of the conservation they've implemented. We want to change that. We would love to work with you to help change that. Again, it's not something that we can do alone. We have to come together to do this. And when we think about better market access or additional revenue, there might be an equip payment. But what if there was somebody that was going to, on top of that, pay a farmer for their water quality benefits, or their carbon benefits, or their energy reduction? We have to think about how to stack all of these ecosystem services together to help provide that benefit, that help that risk be a little bit lower so a farmer can step over that risk, make that change. One of the projects that's really cool is a Peninsula Pride Farms project. Is anyone here from Wisconsin? We got a couple Wisconsin folks. Love your cheese, love your dairy farms. This is a dairy project, in fact. And in Door and Keweenaw County, so the pink areas are the areas where a whole bunch of farmers got together and they said, you know what, we want to tell a better story about agriculture. That sounds great, doesn't it? What are they going to say? They have to back that up with data. They can talk about being family farms. What they did is that group of farmers came together and they said, you know what, we want to make a difference. We want to help others understand agriculture a little bit better. But in order to tell the best story, they also had to have some data to back up what it was that they were doing. And that's the beauty of doing a Fieldprint project. And we've done these all across the United States. We've got 66 happening right now. There's been 100 other ones that have happened and ended. Lots of different ways to tell your story. But it's important that you get the data. And you can do that by working, so this group of farmers realized they needed data, so they reached out to, they didn't reach out to a conservation district, but Dubuque, Iowa did. But they reached out to another organization to help them, Farmers for Soil Health. Edge Dairy really helps lead that group. They reached out to them, and they have helped implement a project so that all the farmers involved in this Peninsula Pride Farms project are implementing their data in that field print calculator. And then they can take that numbers for the whole project, all the farmers in that pink area, and they can share that with the tourists that come, with the neighbors that live there. And it all comes back to the financial resiliency, right? So at Field to Market, we created this blueprint for the value chain a number of years ago, and it's all about how do you help address the financial risk that a farmer takes on when implementing conservation. Because it is a financial risk, right? You're changing the whole system. You're harvesting and planting at the same time. Like, it doesn't happen very often, unless you plant wheat. We do that. But when I think about financial resiliency, we want to make sure that we're looking at also how do you work together, not just with a farmer, but across partnerships. Those partnerships are going to help decrease risk for the farmer to make changes and help with financial risk. So I was so excited yesterday. I went to an H2 Ohio program breakout where Kip Studer was speaking. And as I walked in, I saw Chris Schwartz. I don't know if you know Chris Schwartz from Ohio, but he's a rock star. I worked with him a lot of years ago when we were working on 4R certification. And we had built this partnership, this really diverse partnership, before the catastrophe happened of the Toledo water shutdown. We had the Nature Conservancy, which is who I was working for, agribusinesses, conservation districts, soil and water, NRCS, extension. We had the Fertilizer Institute. We were all working together to figure out the science, to figure out what needed to happen to help make nutrients stay in the field so the farmers could use them for their crops and not get into the waterways. That diverse partnership that we worked on helped create financial resiliency, because when that crisis hit, we knew what needed to happen. We knew where to spend money. We knew the science, the research that needed to happen to take that next step. I talked with someone from Washington State yesterday. They were talking about their conservation district's financial resiliency and how they have a diverse set of revenue to make their conservation districts pretty resilient in the face of some of the things that are going on in Washington. So financial resiliency can mean lower risk and healthier farmers and healthier districts. It is going to take collective action to tackle the most pressing challenges facing agriculture, society, and the planet. You as conservation districts are on the front lines. There's going to be obstacles. Funding's going to be cut. Farmers are going to be grumpy. It happens. There's going to be more paperwork that needs to be filed. And you're going to have to go back to the farmer again to ask them to sign the one more document before that you can submit their application. It happens. But when we look at those obstacles that we're all going to face, you take a breath. You can be sad for a minute, feel the feelings. It's going to happen. But then you have to act. We have to advance. And that's where conservation districts have thrived since the Dust Bowl. And I want to thank you for all you do. Thank you for coming here to this conference. Thank you for spending your time and energy helping farmers be as resilient as they can be. If you want to work with Field to Market, and we can do that in a number of ways, whether it's by county, by state, across the US, we would love to work with you. Tessa Lightfoot's here. She's a fantastic field to market staff, just a great partner of NACD. And I'm happy to talk with you anytime. Send us an email. You can find us on LinkedIn. We want to help you help farmers be more resilient. So as you leave today, you might have your first obstacle with the weather, but know we're all in this together. And I just want to thank you for all that you do. Thank Jeremy for his leadership, and thank you for the new executive team for NACD. So I look forward to working with you more, and safe travels home. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Carrie. We really look forward to working with you in your new role with Field to Market. Please join me in giving her another round of applause. Now I'd like to invite Utah's state conservationist, Emily Fife, to the stage to share a few words with us and introduce our keynote speaker from NRCS.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome again to Utah. We're so happy to have you here. I just wanted to highlight a little bit about how appreciative I am of the conservation partnership here. When I came as a state conservationist 5 years ago, the state was having some challenges and struggles, and what I found was a community of conservation leaders that were true climbers. They were individuals that were dedicated to making sure that no matter what, we took care of the producers and natural resources of this beautiful state. And they welcomed me with open arms so that I could join that conservation community and be a part of those solutions. I'm so grateful for Utah's Association of Conservation Districts, the 38 conservation districts across the state, the Utah Department of Ag and Food, and the Department of Natural Resources. We couldn't do the great work that we do here without this community that we have. We're facing really wicked challenges as a conservation community. We have catastrophic wildfires. We have a 20-plus year drought and declining water supplies and competing demands on those water resources. We have soils that need desperate, healthy resources to be put into them so that we can continue to feed this great nation. And through this partnership, we've been able to do so many wonderful things in terms of advancing soil health in the arid West, which is not as easy as one might think, because we don't get a lot of rain, surprise, surprise. We've been able to provide information on our water supply so that our communities can make wise decisions. We've been able to protect watersheds from flooding after these catastrophic wildfires so that our communities are safe and protected, and that we can continue to have these thriving economies here. And over the past several years, these conservation partnerships have become dear friends to me as well. And I really appreciate so much that friendship and partnership, especially over these last few weeks when we've been so challenged, to know that I have them to lean on, the support that they've given me as we've navigated all of this, the patience, the understanding, and a little bit of a shoulder to cry on from time to time. So really appreciate the locally led value that we've created here in Utah. I want to introduce to you a real champion of locally led conservation, someone who's been a role model to me. We have our acting Chief Lewis Cosby here. Wow, folks, holy smokes. Let's hope that wasn't recorded. I apologize there, Chief. Okay, so we have our acting Chief Lewis Aspey, okay, joining us today. As I've advanced in my career, I've watched what Lewis has done for the agency and for the locally led community, and I just really have appreciated the leadership he's presented and provided for all of us. As he's advanced through his career, early in his career as an engineer, and then as a public administrator, the state conservationist of West Virginia, the work that he did to support those communities and local economies was a real inspiration to myself and many of my colleagues. So please join me in welcoming to the stage our acting chief, Lewis Aspey.
Thank you. Good morning, friends. How y'all doing? I want to start by saying thank you to Emily. She is an awesome state conservationist here, and the folks in Utah are very fortunate to have her as part of the team. And before I get into the regularly scheduled programming, there's a couple of other folks that I want to thank here. The first is the NACD partnership team that's running all the logistics here in the background to make sure everything functions so well. They often go unassuming, but very much thank them. I also want to thank the hotel staff here that keeps everything running for us and is taking great care of us. Yep. And then finally, I want to thank my leadership team that's here. I am so happy that for the first time in 5 years since pre-COVID, we have all of the state conservationists here, and we have all of the senior executives here for the agency. All right, now back to the regularly scheduled programming. My name's Louis Aspey, and I am honored and privileged to serve as the acting chief of NRCS. I have worked with some of you for many years, and I just want to note, you all still gave me the microphone up here, so that's doing something good. But for others that may not know me, I want to share a little bit about myself that maybe not be in the program bio. So I grew up in southwestern Pennsylvania in a little town called Carmichaels. It's in the extreme rural part of the state, right in that little southwestern corner, a few miles north of the Mason-Dixon line. I'm an adopted Southerner, but very rural, very agriculture and very coal mining areas on the economy. My family did not own a farm. I did live next to my grandmother, and she would share tales of the family farm that they lost, as thousands of others did during the Great Depression. Talk to me about growing up on the farm, all the things they did, the livestock, the economy, and what a good life that was. That was in Clifton Mills, Preston County, West Virginia. That farm is still there, and I've driven by that many times, and it's still a working farm. So very happy about that. But growing up, coal mining, my family was in coal mining, but a lot of my friends were in ag, and it seems like I always spent my time growing up on a farm, helping them with chores, mostly so I could get out there in the woods or explore the trails, hunt and fish, which I really like to do. And then I started to grow up a little bit, and my dad, if I can get the clicker to work, the wonders of technology. There we go. Now, do not be distracted by this wondrous display of fashion acumen represented in this picture right here. I particularly like that hat that my dad is wearing. This is my dad and me. We went fishing after he got me up at about 7 in the morning, and he said, hey, we're going to go help a friend. I'm going to help bale hay, and you're going to weed a garden. And then we're going to go fishing. This is one of the first times I got to go fishing, and I loved it. So I went out there, I weeded that garden, he helped bale that hay, and we went fishing. That was a good memory right there. So that's what it was like growing up for me. Now the economy there is a lot of ag, but it's also a lot of Marcellus shale, so natural gas extraction. I also had some aunts that worked with USDA. One was in the county FSA office, another one worked for APHIS. So the point is, I was around ag growing up an awful lot. So this picture is about 50 years ago, which means NRCS was about 40 years in existence at that point. A lot of change over that time. A lot of water under the bridge, a ton of change. And that's what I want to talk about here for a minute. We are in times that may seem a little chaotic, a little disruptive. The status quo is not the status quo anymore. Folks are outside their comfort level a little bit, and I think you heard that throughout the leadership talks. I know Kim referenced, what is your compass? You heard the keynote speaker talk about, are you going to quit, are you going to camp, or are you going to climb? And what I have challenged my leadership team to do, with knowing not all of the information, is lead. We have got to be the calming voice. We've got to rise above the perceived chaos, the turbulence, and read the landscape and look at what is there and come back to our core values, which have been in place for 90 years, and that means something. Locally led, voluntary, incentive-based, science-based, and relationship-based conservation. That means something. So in times of chaos, times of uncertainty, you know, I grew up not too far from Pittsburgh, and Mr. Rogers left a real mark on me growing up, right? He said when things were uncertain, look for the helpers. Everybody in this room is a helper. People are looking to us. They're relying on us, whether they're a producer, district employee, maybe a fellow conservation district employee, a federal employee, a partner. We need to be that calming voice. Look for the opportunities. It's not about the status quo, it's about the opportunities that are out there now. Think about the barriers that our producers face. The seemingly endless bureaucratic paperwork, perhaps, the complex processes, things that really gum up that producer being successful. Maybe it's the staff in a field office that isn't, there's not enough staff. But think about the opportunities there that are before us right now to make things better. We are at a point right now where we can really shine because locally led, voluntary, incentive-based conservation is part of the solution for rural American prosperity. It's part of the solution. It's not a challenge to overcome, and we need to be front and center on that. We are part of the solution. What are the challenges that we face? How do we overcome those challenges? How do we voice those challenges? And we can do that. But we need to lead through uncertain times. We need to lean on each other through uncertain times. And this partnership is just tailor-made for that. Strong, very strong. I'm so honored to be part of this. My team and I are super excited about Secretary Rollins getting in. We want to be able to talk to her about her vision for rural American prosperity and how definitely NRCS can be a key piece of that. So whenever she gets in there, I'm just really looking forward to that. Talk about the opportunities that are out there. How do we make life better for the producers? One of the things that I tell my team every day in headquarters, and folks that are in, come to Washington, D.C., get a little taste of that during the fly-in, but Washington, D.C. is a bubble. And it's really easy to forget the fact that every email that we get, every phone call that we get, every piece of paper that we get, there's a story behind that. There's a human behind that. There's a family behind that. There's people that rely on us for a key part of their dream, of their operation. Never forget that. That line of sight to that service center employee, helping that producer that's walking through that door and trusting this partnership enough to serve them. Never forget that, never betray that trust. That line of sight is critical. And again, where's the opportunities to make that better? How do we make things better for rural America? So I want you to think about all the changes this partnership has seen over 90 years. I'm excited about April. April is the 90th anniversary of NRCS, 90 years. What a time, what a time. But think about this, 1935, the country is in the midst of a Great Depression that my grandmother told me she never thought that thing was going to end. Told me she had to eat turnips for a whole week. That's all they had. She had 5 kids. I can't imagine that. No safety net, you know, trying to get any kind of odd job they could. But think about all the changes. Great Depression, NRCS is formed. Big Hugh up there on the Senate, everybody's heard that. Think about 6 years later, World War II. After that, you had Korea. After that, on and on and on. All the world crises, all of the administrations that have come and gone, all of the technology that's come and gone. Think about that. Cell phones, internet, television. You guys remember those big TVs that weighed about 10,000 pounds and cost about just as much? Internet. On and on and on. I'll have you know, I still have a really good skill. It's an elite skill. I can set the clock on a VCR. How many of you know what a VCR is? I bet there's some in here that don't. Rotary phone? Yes, sir. I got it. My point is, at any point along that way, it would have been easy for NRCS to fade away. It would have been easy for the partnership to fade away because of the other things and the pressing times of the moment. But it didn't. And it grew. So why? Why did it grow? Because it works. It works. Time and time and time again, regardless of the technology and the changes in the world, it still comes down to that local interaction from a district employee, a partner staff, NRCS staff, meeting with that producer, coming into that service center, walking the land, voluntary, incentive-based, locally led conservation. It is a cornerstone of rural American success. That's our opportunity. That is our opportunity. And it's proven every day. I can set the clock on the VCR, but I can't get this thing. There we go. There we go. All right. I went too fast. There we are. All right. Everybody's seen these pictures of the Dust Bowl and the tragedy there. This is where we came from. If we work together, this is the scale of the problems and the challenges that we can overcome. They didn't have internet back then. They didn't have all the gizmos, the engineering stuff that I can geek out on. They didn't have all that stuff. They had the old rod. They had a level rod. I mean, the plumb bob, all that stuff was what they used, all right? They did it by hand, and they got stuff done. They got stuff done that's still out there today. It's amazing. This is our root. This is our base. This is our North Star. Keep focused on that. Look for the opportunities. Be creative. Be creative. I love this. Big U has a quote for just about anything. And I found this when this is 70 plus years ago, almost 80 years ago, and he was right here in Salt Lake City. He was talking about bees. Be the change. The quality of your honey depends on the quality of the plants on which your bees feed, and the quality of the plants depends on the quality of the land on which they grow, soil health. Truly, your bees depend on the land, good, fertile, productive land, just the same as livestock, human beings for that matter. What we do every day affects everybody in this country. We're focused on rural America, but soil health, and the practices that we do voluntarily, better food, better healed, and it affects everybody, no matter where you live, urban, rural, and everywhere in between. That's the difference that you make, and that's the difference this partnership makes every day. So my ask of you in closing, think about the opportunities. Think about where we can work better together. We have such a special relationship here with what we do. And I am honored to be in this. I'm starting my 20th year at NRCS. I came from the Corps of Engineers. I was an engineer. I'm a recovering engineer now. Conservationist now. The future is bright. The future is bright. Embrace the change. Embrace the opportunities here. And let's continue to work together for another 90 years. Thank you all very much. God bless. God bless the United States. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Louis, for your time with us here today and for NRCS's partnership and longstanding support of the critical work of conservation districts. You won't find a bigger champion of the locally led conservation and the work that we do here at NACD. And in times of change, Louis, you are a steady voice that we all need right now. Thank you so much. Please let's give him another round of applause. Now please join me in welcoming to the stage NACD's Chief Executive Officer, Jeremy Peters, for his CEO report.
Good morning. Thank you, Kim. And thank you all for being here this week with us in Salt Lake City. First things first, before I go into my remarks, want to recognize my staff team that's done so much this week. I really appreciate Acting Chief Aspey giving a shout out to the staff, but I've got to do the same. If my staff is in the room, please stand and be recognized. Let's give them a big round of applause. Truly, they are the A team. They put the A in NACD. This week and year-round, our staff do just such a phenomenal job, and we could not do it without them. Up on the screen here, we had the good fortune of being able to get out of the hotel for a little bit, and we went down a few blocks to the Wasatch Community Garden, and it hadn't started snowing yet. There's no rain, or we actually had a beautiful morning, and we helped the garden manager. They're getting ready to move some of their operation to a new plot across town, and we were able to help them out with that. They had a semi-trailer backed into the garden area, and we in about 2 hours did 2 months worth of work for that community garden manager, loading everything from irrigation and pipes and high tunnels and plastic and barrels and shuttles and you name it. I mean, we were loading this trailer to the gills. You can't really appreciate it in this picture, everything that was on there. But it was such a joy to start our annual meeting with our executive board, our officers, and our staff team, being able to pay back a little bit to this great city. So just my hat's off to our staff and our leadership, and thank you all for getting us started with such. It feels like so long ago already. Last Friday. Hope you all have enjoyed your time while we've been together here in Salt Lake. As you've observed, we've changed up our agenda a little bit. I hope it's felt like NACD and what you expect at NACD's annual meeting, but also some new opportunities. Just give me a shout out. Did you like it? Yeah, okay, all right. We appreciate that feedback, and as we are trying to lead by example and be the change. It's good to keep our programs fresh, and every year I like to tell the team, let's raise the bar a little more every year. Let's give people something new, something unexpected and exciting. One of the things that I was really excited about was our keynote speaker, Eric Weinmayer. I know many of us have referenced him throughout this conference, and I think that's not by accident, because he was just phenomenal. We had originally tried to get Eric to come speak at our annual meeting in Denver in 2017. We were right there in his backyard. He lives in Golden, and unfortunately he was overseas, scheduled to be overseas in his adventures and doing all the wonderful things that he does. So it didn't work out, but I'd stayed in touch with his manager, Skylar, and I said, let's not give up on this, and next time we're out west, let's find that opportunity, and so we did, and so I'm so glad that worked out. Really appreciated a lot of the parallels in his speech to the challenges that we experience, but one of the things that really stuck out with me was his concept of us as conservation alchemists. That was powerful. There was a lot of good metaphors, but to me that was powerful. The ability to turn something basic or something maybe considered useless or neglected into something that's precious, something that's valuable. And isn't that what soil and water conservation is all about? Our original alchemist, Hugh Hammond Bennett, and Lewis, I appreciate the references to Big Hugh. I'm a fan myself. Big Hugh extolled the virtues of conservation districts and the movement that he and his contemporaries in the 1930s created through their alchemy. In fact, Mr. Bennett regarded the soil conservation districts movement as one of the most important developments in the whole history of agriculture. Wow. One of the most important developments in the whole history of agriculture. It was his alchemy of the 1930s that created the Soil Conservation Service and led to the model legislation that was adopted by every state in the Union. His tireless advocacy, his intellectual curiosity, his tenaciousness were all secrets to his success in becoming the father of the conservation movement in the United States. All of this at a time when world economies were ravaged. Farmers were abandoning their ravaged lands and heading west to California. Eastern Europe barreling towards authoritarianism. And the world facing so much uncertainty. Lewis, I think you and I maybe compared notes here, but it kind of gives me chills to think about, all these things. And yet, through all of that, he persisted. He did not give up. Let's hear directly from Big Hugh.
Listen to the warning of Hugh Bennett, Director of United States Soil Erosion Service.
We Americans have been the greatest destroyers of land, of any race or people, barbaric or civilized. Unless immediate steps are taken to restore grass to millions of acres of these sun-scorched, wind-eroded lands, we shall have on our hands a new man-made Sahara, where formerly was rich grazing land.
Those words still ring true today. And today it's our turn. How will we respond? I posit that we respond the same way we always have, with a continued commitment to locally led conservation that we know works and that farmers and ranchers trust. We have an opportunity coming up on March 26th with NACD Spring Fly-In. And if you're unsure about coming to Washington, D.C., I challenge you to consider the importance of following in Big Hugh's footsteps to our nation's capital, to educate, to inform our lawmakers about the work we do as a conservation partnership, and more importantly, to educate them on the costs of inaction or of indifference that could lead to a return of the conditions that caused the greatest ecological disaster in our nation's history. We have work to do in NACD, and I hope to see each of you there. Our alchemy today is our grassroots advocacy and our ability to educate lawmakers and the public on the benefits of locally led conservation. The federal, state, and local conservation delivery system that has been around for 90 years and that will be around for 90 years to come. We must continue to be alchemists for conservation and lead the way through uncertainty. And just as in Hugh Hammond Bennett's time, we have to rely on trust, courage, and tenaciousness to keep telling our conservation story. We've got just a little time remaining here, so I'd like to depart just a little bit from what I typically do, and I want to give the microphone to you. I know there's lots of questions, lots of concerns on your mind, so we've got Wes, we've got Keith in the room with microphones. I'd like to give you an opportunity. Let's have some Q&A and some discussion. So if we can turn up the lights a little bit, and please raise your hand if you have a question. I'd love to answer your questions this morning. Looks like right over here.
Good morning. I can't stand because I'm a little way down here. First, let me thank you for the Hugh Hammond Bennett quote. I thought it was a great one. It's one of my favorites from him. I used it on our program for our annual meeting this year, so I like the way you think. So thank you, and NACD, for the support that you give to conservation districts. But just looking forward, and with the change in administration, and kind of the topic that we've had all week is, how do we regroup? How do we tailor our asks and our demands to not just administration, but the challenges that we're facing? I know you can't see into the future, but what do you foresee as the challenges and the opportunities that conservation districts have in the upcoming years, 5, 10 years? And how is NACD preparing to support the districts?
Yeah, fantastic question. Thank you for having your family here with us today. And I'm always a fan of Hugh Hammond Bennett quotes, so I appreciate that we share that. I think that the challenges and the opportunities are no different today than they were yesterday. Maybe they're growing in size and scale, but the fundamental challenges are still the same. We've got to continue the work that we've always done. Soil and water is constant. Those needs are constant, especially as we respond to the variability in weather and drought and floods and fires. Those things are just as tenacious as the work that we have. So we've got to keep looking for those opportunities to help landowners, to be the best stewards, so that when that day comes, they're ready, right? We know that if they're practicing the 5 principles of soil health, if they're being good stewards of their land, if they're fire-wise in their approach in our wildfire landscapes, they're going to be ready when that day comes. They're going to be better prepared. We have to keep preparing landowners, and that's really where our focus is. And I think it needs to continue to be, is telling those landowner stories and why conservation is so important to them. We're an instrument of that work, but it's ultimately the landowner where these benefits accrue. And if we're doing our work correctly, then our landowners are safer, they're more secure, our communities are safer and more secure. That's the work that I see ahead of us. Thank you. Other questions? In the back.
No question. Thank you for staying in touch with Eric's manager. That was a phenomenal keynote speaker, so thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Vincent. And we will, like I said, we love to raise the bar every year. I don't know how high we can keep raising that bar, but personally, I take that challenge on. And next year, who knows? Sky's the limit. Thank you, sir. Other questions? I'm going to start telling chicken jokes. Over here, okay, all right.
Mr. Peters, again, thanks for your leadership to our association as well as the staff. Outstanding job. A question for you. We in Kentucky are reevaluating our visit back to Washington in the fly-in. We found very successfully that our Zoom seems to be getting a lot more opportunities to meet with our congressional delegation and particularly their staff. How do you feel we could strengthen if we choose to do the Zoom? How can our staff work together to make those more successful?
Yeah. And, one thing I would say, I'm glad you raised that, Steve. Our flying is coming up March 26th. You don't have to wait until March 26th to reach out to your lawmakers. The issues today can't wait in some instances, so make sure that you're communicating. Pick up the phone or schedule a Zoom or send an email. I heard the other day, y'all probably as well, the volume of calls coming into the Capitol increased by like 200% just overnight. People are calling, and our voice has to be part of that mix. We've got to make sure that we're making sure that the Conservation District voice is heard. So yes, absolutely. If you can't make it to DC, reach out to the staff, reach out to the district staff. Sometimes that can be your gateway to getting that information in, especially as busy as things can be in Washington, D.C. So yes, absolutely. Thank you for mentioning that. What else? Back here. Got 2 hands.
Hi, some of you know me. I live in Falls Church, Virginia, and for the fly-in, I want to look into helping to provide housing if it would help to come and have a free place to stay. I'm hoping I'm going to be in town, and I've got a basement which would sleep 3 or 4 people. So if that would help, I'd like to do it.
Okay. Yes, we'll take you up on it. Is there a? Tell you what. Let's make sure that we collect maybe a phone number or email address after the meeting. All right. What else?
Okay. Well, Jeremy, thank you, and to the staff at NACD. A question from North Carolina I have is, we've been very, you all have been very receptive to a lot of the resolutions that we brought forth to NACD, and we get them in the policy book, and I'll put this upon us. What can we do as a state, once we get our resolutions into your policy book, to help you all continue to work on it from a national level? We have a tendency, once we get it there, we kind of just fall back out of the whole process. But I think for us, we'd like to continue to be engaged, and if you all could just give us advice on how to help you all once it gets to that stage, we greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. And you're actually not the first person to ask me that this morning, so thank you. We do have a process. You know, the resolutions from this meeting, they go forward, and we have a process where they get assigned, and we begin to look at the disposition of those resolutions and how we can begin to carry that out. We start that work at the staff level, and then we provide updates as we go along through our committees and so forth. So stay in touch with us. You know, I think that's the overarching message there. Our government affairs team does such a great job, and I know they're already thinking about strategies and tactics for getting our resolutions effectuated. So yes, stay in touch, and we'll look forward to sharing updates as we go along that process. I think there was another, yes.
We've been talking a lot about conservation districts being the point of contact and getting the message out, and I totally agree with that, and I think conservation districts should be the first point of contact for producers and the last point of contact once they find programs and get those implemented. But does NACD have any plans, or maybe not plans, but any ways of working with the land-grant colleges, the extension offices, to work with the conservation districts to promote all the things conservation districts do?
Yeah, absolutely. That a lot of that occurs, of course, at the state level with those relationships. And I'm a son of a land grant. I studied at Virginia Tech, and I know that there's great relationships throughout the states with the districts, the state associations, the state agencies, and the land grants as part of that community of trusted advisors and support with extension and districts and so forth. So from NACD, we encourage that. We encourage those partnerships to be as strong as they can at the state and the local level. We are always happy to champion that. So thank you. We've got time for maybe one more, and then I'm going to sit down. Yes,
Jeremy.
back here.
Numbers question. Back in the summer going into the fall, the information coming from executive committee was that we were looking at about, I think it was $72 to $79 million worth of expected grant income coming in 2025. Am I right with that number to begin with?
Yeah, that is, I think that is ballpark.
So of that number, have you been able yet to identify what amount of that might be at risk and the level of risk of maybe not occurring, or either by percentage or dollar figure?
Yeah, not by percentage or dollar figure yet. I think, we're going through some of these exercises, and I would share with you our executive team. I got to give shout out to Jen Nelligan, to Carla Maldonado Mitchell, and Rich Dusterhouse. Our executive team, we've been on this, from day one, and looking at what we need to do to communicate and to make sure that our priorities are known, not only to our members and partners and stakeholders, but also to be able to work with the new administration. The other thing that I would mention is, a lot of this will depend upon the statutory authorities. And, as those statutory authorities are examined and some things are allowed to move forward, other things may be on pause for a little longer, that will determine the ability for, those percentages to be determined and what mix will be able to continue with, both in the short term and the longer term. So I know this is an answer you get tired of hearing, but there's a lot more to come as we have those conversations. So again, keep those types of questions coming, because it's important for us, and it helps us to also respond back with the information that you need. But thank you for that question, Monty. Thank you all again for being here in Salt Lake. As other speakers have said, safe travels home, and look forward to seeing you down the road. Take care of yourselves.
Thank you, Jeremy, for your leadership and the work that you do for this association. And on a personal note, it truly has been an honor and a privilege to work with you. Again, in times of turmoil, Jeremy's calm, soothing leadership style, when I was running around with my hair on fire, Jeremy was the one who could calm me down. Let's think about this methodically. And that's the style of leadership that we need right now, and we're lucky to have you. Thank you. Our next speaker is about to embark on the most rewarding, time-consuming, sometimes frustrating, but amazing journey of his life. And it's been an honor and a privilege to be able to serve alongside of him. Now, some people view these name tags as just a piece of plastic with a magnet on the back. And I've always viewed them as just a little bit more, because not everybody gets to wear a blue name tag, and only one person gets to have the name of president. And so it is my distinct honor and privilege to present to you your NACD president and my good friend, Gary Blair. And it's time to get you a new name tag.
Thank you. Thank you. It's great to be here in Utah. Thank you, Utah. Commissioner who spoke earlier, Marissa, Carrie, Louis, Jeremy. It's been a great morning. Had opportunities to share some about where we are and where we're going. We've heard a lot of great speakers. I hope you pack all that up as you're packing up your luggage and clothes, and take all that back with you and utilize that when you get back home. So who's Gary Blair? And what is our roadmap for the future? So, who is Gary Blair? So I am trying to get the next slide of who Gary Blair may be. So this is, family. This is my wife, Jonna, of almost 45 years. I married her when she was 10, and we met on a blind date at Mississippi State University. She was a senior in high school, and I was a junior in college, and Bob, it was love at first sight, and it's been that way ever since. We have one son, Jonathan. He's a special young man because God gave him to us as an adopted son. And, if you ever go through, the maybe trials of having children, but God always has somebody for you, and he had Jonathan for us. We have been down this road through, that's a wedding of my son and my daughter-in-law, and I'm hitting the wrong button, sorry. So I grew up on a family farm. The great-looking guy over there on the left is my dad. He's my mentor. He was always there. When I'd come in from school, I would run into that rotary dial phone, and I'd call the flight service station in Greenwood, Mississippi, and I'd say, "Where's Daddy?" And they knew that was Claver Blair. My mom grew up, she lost her mom and dad before she was 10. She had two sisters, basically raised by her aunt. But his family, Jonna's parents are there on the lower end, and that's my mom's family, kind of also under us with our tennis rackets at the U.S. Open. No, we don't play, I don't play tennis, but we love tennis and love going to New York and love going to the Open. So there I am with a photo that was taken back in the 20s in front of my grandparents' home that was built by my great-great-grandfather. He was a carpenter by trade. He came south in 1880, settled that property, and it's been in our family ever since. When my sisters and I took over ownership, we changed it to the Blair Legacy Tree Farm, and hopefully that will be the way it is always. When I was about 5, there was a watershed lake that was built in my backyard, and that's me there in front of the lake. That branch that I'm standing in, I was deer hunting here about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and there was ice on the branch, and that's Mormon Branch in Carroll County, Mississippi, that runs into the Petticoat Creek, which I'm sure is named after an Indian, into the Yallabusha River, into the Yazoo River, into the Mississippi River, and into the Gulf of Mexico. So the water that comes off of my farm in Carroll County, Mississippi, I will drink from that branch. As a kid, I drank from that branch. And so the water for my farm is clear because of the work that we do. So somebody said something about land grants. I'm a land grant guy. I went to Mississippi State. I'm a Bulldog. I served on the CARET board, the Council for Ag Research, Extension, and Teaching, so I'll work on getting those land grants more involved with NACD and the work we do. I killed all those ducks, didn't I, Michael? You know, I've been involved in a lot of different organizations. Jonna says, what meeting are you going to tonight? And is it that D Now meeting? And I said, no, it's not D Now, it's Ducks Unlimited. And then we live in Starkville, Mississippi, where Mississippi State is. My backyard is the research farm for Mississippi State University. I see the sunrise over Mississippi State every day. And so I couldn't get any closer, so it's basically my backyard. In some of those previous pictures was the governor of Mississippi and other people. There's me with Bully, our mascot. So several other pictures. I've been involved with our Cell of Champions, working with our 4-H and FFA groups there in Mississippi and being involved with that. That's me and my U.S. congressman there in the middle. That's our Speaker of the House with that big DU flag. And that's a Green Wing dedication on there. That's me at Mississippi State at the FFA State Convention sharing those duck calls that we all love that DU gives out to those FFA students. I had an opportunity to go to a meeting that on the bottom down there is Joey Jones. Joey is a veteran. He's lost both of his legs in Afghanistan. He gave the keynote at this event that I was with Ducks Unlimited. Across the way is Pete Coors. Pete was the past president of DU. The photo kind of there in the very middle at the bottom is the sun setting over my farm, and the photo over on the right is the sun rising over Mississippi State. I'm a volunteer there with DU. That's some of my volunteers. We won some of the top awards for Oktibbeha County DU, so I'm involved in too many things, I think. Rotary Club, and Denise pointed this out several years ago, Denise, and we need to get more involved in our local Rotary Club. Rotary's added an environmental pillar to what they are doing, and if you're not involved with your Rotary Club, I think you try to go back and try to get involved and find out about what they're doing. So what is our vision and what is our mission? And we've talked about change, and we've talked about things that are happening in DC, and we've talked about what are you going to do about this and what are you going to do about that. And the officer team, this is our vision. It was our vision that we adopted several years ago, and it's going to be our mission and vision going forward. So it's not changing. A lot of things are changing around us. So we are to promote responsible stewardship and conservation of our natural resources, representing that locally led. I do want to give some kudos to people, and as I think about who's on the bus and some of the Who Moved My Cheese and all of these different leadership books, I think we've got the right people on the bus. I do want to thank Kim and her leadership, Michael, Tim, Brent, Lee, these are all past presidents that I serve with. Our executive board, Mark, Ron, Carl, as our officers. They will be chairing your standing committees starting today. We'll have committee meetings tomorrow. No, I'm just kidding. I look forward to working with Josh and Cliff and Bill, Michael from Guam, Carol, Sam, and Phil. That's our executive board, and Kim will still be there, even though she's trying to get away from me as far as past president. I think she's using Michael's model. So we have a strategic plan. It was our strategic plan a year ago. It's a strategic plan today. The strategic change of influential representation, that is a charge for our legislative committee. That's their marching orders. And under those plans is also tactics, and we'll be implementing those tactics. Natural resources, that's kind of our public engagement, outreach, looking at resource concerns. And the committee this past 2 years has worked real hard on what are our natural resource concerns and how are we addressing those. And our district partner relations is our leadership excellence. And that committee is working on that part of our strategic plan. So everybody here is on a local conservation district board. There's mine up there in the top left. That wagon is full of district employees. We could not do what we do without our district employees. There's some other photos there of my Mississippi delegation in D.C. and other places with our U.S. Senator down in the corner there on the bottom or in the middle or somewhere representing us in D.C. is U.S. Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith. One of her best friends is Brooke Rollins, who will be our Secretary of Ag. Our NACD family. I don't know how Beth got left out of that picture when we were all eating dinner, but there's a story behind that. I won't get into it today. The picture, kind of the lower middle, is all of our past presidents at our 75th anniversary celebration in Chicago. Candace is in several of those where we were down in the Puerto Rico on a trip. A lot of the Puerto Rico delegation there. The forestry RPG that I've had the opportunity to serve on. And I think Kim had that same picture of those ducks in Michael's backyard and Gretchen, and we appreciate the opportunity that Michael and Gretchen have given us to come and do a planning session and duck hunt. You can do a whole lot in a duck blind, so we did a lot of work. More pictures, more people, more things that we've been involved in, some where I've been recently. The things that we do together, we are a family. And one of those pictures was at a Pacific Southwest meeting, Wyoming, and other places. Great people, more great people. Some of those, I found these pictures as I was going through, and that top left photo, that was probably my first NACD meeting. Of course, I was going through a food line. Jonah says I'm on a diet. So some of my photos there in D.C., I photobombed there behind Brent somewhere when we were at a fly-in. So encourage you to make plans to be at our fly-ins. It'll be soon. My compadres down there counting ballots. I don't know if we were counting the ballots for Michael and Kim or what election that was, but it was, it came along. And then my great friend, Mr. Palmer, down there with my rabbit ears behind my head. So anyway, so it's all about relationships. These are some from officer teams and things where we've been together over the years. I've mentioned Ian before. Ian is a dear friend, and Ian probably should be standing up here now, and I feel like I'm standing in his shoes to be here as well. So we went to D.C. and had an opportunity to go to the inauguration that didn't happen outdoors, but it happened indoors. But we went to the farm prom, and so our wives and some of our staff can really dress up looking pretty good in that top middle picture. That's me and the chief and my state con. My wife and I on a boat somewhere outside of Savannah at a southeast region meeting. A picture from the farm prom with past chief Bruce Knight. And I don't know who some of these guys are. That bald-headed guy just keeps showing up in some of these photos. So what are we doing going forward? And I'm wrapping up here, and my clock's been at 0 ever since I got up here. But 5 characteristics of bold conservation is fueled by relationships. We have the best network of partners and relationships, bar none, with our districts and with our partners, with our NRCS and all of our partners. Conservation flows through the assurance of our strategic plan that I mentioned. If we have to abide by what we have, and it flows through the assurance that our strategic plan is valid today, tomorrow, and in the future. We do feel, I think every speaker that has spoken has talked about adversity. We feel the weight of adversity, but the way I look at it, bring it on. Nothing in this world will take away our mission, our vision, and where we're going. We have to remain focused on our mission. Hope is in our partnership, and we must be focused and be bold. And it's followed by the work of our committees. Our committees are our leader, and it's our roadmap, and it's our movement. And we move by the work of our committees. And I said it earlier, we are NACD. We are NACD. This is a slide that Mark used. Several have used this. Better together. Get involved. If you're not already involved, get more involved. Subscribe to our newsletters, attend our meetings, apply for our grants, share your input, share your stories, grow your membership. That's the bottom line of where we can be better together. So be the change. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you for being my wingman for the last 2 years, and I'm happy to be your backup dancer for the next 2. Please join me for another round of applause for your NACD President, Gary Blair. On behalf of everyone here at NACD, I would like to thank this morning's speakers and all of the speakers this week for joining us here in Salt Lake City and sharing their leadership, knowledge, and insights with us. As we conclude our program, I want to give you a taste of what's in store for the next time we meet. This summer, we'll be in Milwaukee, Wisconsin on July 24th to the 30th for the NACD Summer Conservation Forum and Tours. Here's a short video of what you have to look forward to in Milwaukee. '26 will be here before we know it, so here's a preview of what's awaiting us at the 2026 NACD annual meeting in San Antonio, Texas on February 14th to the 19th. We hope to see you at one or both of these great events. For those participating in this afternoon's tours, the buses will depart from the east side entrance of the lobby by the Salt Republic restaurant at 12:30. Please ensure you have boarded the buses before then. Wear comfortable shoes and dress for the weather. For all of you who have joined us here this week, thank you. We know how valuable your time is, and we're honored that you've chosen to spend your time with us to support voluntary, locally led conservation. We hope that you will travel home inspired with new knowledge and professional connections and lasting memories of your time here together. Thank you for the work that you do conserving our nation's natural resources. Safe travels home, and we'll see you again soon.